To the channel. Trucker Rod here, and I'd be late for my own funeral. I was on the phone with the wife, and we will discuss what we were talking about, which was a little comical. So, any folks, how you doing? Before we get started, if you could like, share, comment, subscribe, help grow the channel. Sorry I didn't get on any videos last week. As you can hear, voice been a little hoarse. Got a chest cold. Struggled with that. I was able to work, but not really sit and carry on a long conversation without it being very raspy and coughing a lot. But we got on the mend by the end of last week, so we're good to go. I'm here at the Loves in Covington, Virginia, just doing my thing as always. I had a customer last week ask how my businesses were going outside of driving truck. They're doing well. I got to put some more time in my swing trade classes and all that to get to know more, especially implementing AI into my swing trading on my TradeView stocks, stock brokerage, whatever you want to call it there. So my detailing is blowing up. I've have now 4 or 5 details already from last week, this week, the following week. I've got details starting to stack up now, and that's good. I had about a 6-month dry spell through the winter months, which I think because of the holidays and the uncertainty of the presidential election to Trump getting in and all this other stuff, I think people were holding back spending money on discretionary stuff like cleaning your car. So now it's coming full circle, and I've already had more work in the last 2 weeks. 3 weeks. Then shoot, I want to say it. Yeah, I've had a lot more than I did all last summer. So it's good. Word of mouth, and just going over and above and doing a good job for those folks. I was going to live stream the car I did. Young lady had bought a 2012 Ford Edge, and she just basically wanted to reset the interior and the engine compartment, everything like new, as if she got it new from the dealer lot, because she inherited someone else's mess in the car, dog hair, everything and anything under the sun. They basically did a very weak job of keeping it clean inside and all that jazz. So excuse me. So anyhow, I had 12 hours into that vehicle. I've already gotten that. I've got a family member's convertible Mustang coming. I've got another car coming, and probably gonna be more word of mouth. Very, very nice family. So I've been happy to talk to just about every aspect of her family so far, getting other vehicles scheduled in. So anyhow, that's happening, and hopefully we'll see where things are going with the economy. It's definitely been slow. I'm only just running a trailer load, so when they load me on Fridays, I leave on Sunday, unload the trailer, get my route done, go back in. Been back in around Thursday mornings last couple of weeks, which not this last week, but the week before, I was so sick. I ended up just getting home. I crawled into bed by noon, 1 o'clock Thursday 2 weeks ago, and I stayed in bed until Saturday night. But yeah, just rebounding and just trying to get on the mend. And I appreciate Tommy over at Trucking Unfiltered. Been following him. He did a pivotal change. And there's another guy I followed, Trucker Rob. He's getting out of trucking, and I want to say Tommy had a plan. Trucker Rob's just like, he's frustrated with the industry and just going to get out. He went from a lease operator, company driver, and then he's getting You know, and we'll go into this, but the thing about a company driver is you got to be very nice. W900 guy just waved at me, so I get a little more respect when I got a CB antenna and my um, my mic is hanging down here with the, I got the retractable gear. What do they call that? The Wilson gear retractable. When the guys see you got a CB, they, you know, especially the hooded guys or the old school guys like me, I just end up being in the torpedo turd instead of a nice truck, for the most part. I will say the truck's been running good, and we'll go into that. What wasn't running good? The truck's running top. I am definitely. I was on my way back last Thursday from Florence, Kentucky, all the way back to Grand Rapids, Michigan. I got 9.1 miles a gallon empty. So, damn truck's running top. I could never get over 8 miles a gallon until they had changed the injector wire harness, the Jake solenoids, and gave it the overhead and adjustment. It's running tops. I mean, it's running for what it is. This morning, I was in the mountains. I spent the night up in the mountains in a Walmart parking lot. Post-trip good yesterday. Got up this morning, and when I pre-trip my trailer, I always charge the brake or charge the trailer. That way I can hear for any air leaks and that. Sure enough, it took me nearly 5 decades, and it finally happened. I was charging it up. I started walking back, and I could hear it sounded like maybe the airbags were filling. Thumping the tires, checking the lights, looking at mud flaps, this and that, checking my kingpin, make sure no one pulled my pin, blah, 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 blah. Get to the back, unlock the door to get my day started, and checking the lights and all that, and I'm coming around the passenger side of the trailer to check tires and all that, start my way up the passenger side, and the damn air's still going. I mean, it's dumping loudly outside, and I'm like, this don't sound right. So I said, I finished everything on the outside. I went back, and I said, what is going on? Well, what ended up happening is there is a 1/4-inch plastic airline that comes down off a block between the two axles back there on the trailer. This is on the trailer, not the truck. And it comes out and it feeds, it's a 1/4-inch plastic line. It goes to the axles, and that 1/4-inch main feed line feeds into a T, and the T split to go fill the airbags. The very back axle, the T was laying on the axle, so the two split lines to the airbags and the main one, so that T was just sitting there resting on the axle, but going on the road, it was bouncing. It finally, probably the trailer is just over a year old, maybe a year and a half old, but it must have slapped the axle long enough and it cracked the brass housing of the T, because it had compression fittings for the airlines to go into, that hook to the T. So the airlines weren't leaking. The T snapped at the main feed line, and where it was threaded to thread the line on, that cracked down there on the base. So guy had to come out. I was down for 3 hours and 40 minutes today, just dealing with that. Nothing major. Guy came out, saw that, and he had to run down. They didn't have one at their shop, but he had to go down to Napa and get a new T, and he got me fixed up. It's more running around getting the right part. Customer came out in the Walmart parking lot and just got their product right off the back of my truck with their delivery trucks, and got going that way. A little bit about a story, a story time, and it kind of falls hand in hand, and and I'm not putting names or anyone out there, but my customer, I gotta turn the volume down because I can see where this is gonna go. Come on, you. There we go. There, in case his phone starts ringing. So, my customer at that town I delivered at, I said, I want to verify this story you told me. And he goes, yep, that's how it happened. So the company that this happened to was the company that came out and fixed my truck, my trailer today. And I leaned on the entry door to his service truck and I said, hey, a little birdie tells me, and this is the story. Little birdie tells me that another company had gone out, and I told him where I was delivering, and he kind of smirked a little bit. I think he knew where I was going with it. So I said, I've been delivering to these folks for years. And I said, they had told me that you guys had to deal with a non-English speaking person who had a difficult time back in their warehouse, and when they were making the swing around into the barn, the front of their truck dropped in the ditch or whatever, and they had to come out and get them unstuck. Well, in the process, I don't know if it was a non-English person, so I take that back. He was dealing with one this morning. That's how it went. And these guys go through a lot of crap from this. So whatever the dude was, they got him unstuck, and the form of payment for the wrecker service, it didn't go through. So they kept the truck and trailer hooked to his truck, or it was whether it was a tractor trailer, because I asked him, was it a tractor trailer or box truck? Tractor trailer. He said they took it down to their impound yard, so they are a truck repair service and a towing facility for this town. Heavy trucks. They put it in the impound yard in the back. They didn't have a fence in the back of the lot because there is, I'm out here in West Virginia where there's a lot of railroads because of the coal hauling. Therefore, there was 4 layers of tracks going across because that town's got a main hub, and the towing service is bumped to it. So, they were going to hold the truck till they got a form of payment for the services rendered. So during the night, they had put a tow truck by the truck or something like that, so he couldn't get out. They never thought in the wildest dreams the dude snuck in there during the night, got in the truck, and was able to maneuver it and basically gun it and run over perpendicular across the 4 sets of railroad tracks, take off. He never got his delivery in. So the next morning they saw the truck was gone. They looked at the video footage, and he said that truck was nearly the trailer was at a 45 going like this, where the wheels were coming off the ground when he was going across the tracks, because he had gave it all holy hell to get across tracks. But it was funny because I said, yeah, little birdie told me you guys dealt with this guy. The guy fixing my trailer goes, yeah, I was the main guy getting this guy. And I said, you were? He goes, yeah. After he was gone, so I called the company he was going to deliver to, say, if he shows up with your product, let me know. He did. Later that morning, showed up. So he must have went and slept somewhere. called him, went out there. As he backed in, this company came down with all their tow trucks, boxed him in. They did not call the police. They didn't get any enforcement involved. They went down there and took care of business themselves. And he said, yep. And this is a big mountain man of a guy. When I was standing next to him today, I'm 5'7". He goes, a little guy like you was there. He goes, I nearly had to hold him by the collar. That dude was going to go off on that truck driver. And so he went over, and the guy, he goes, all of them were like, you got to get out of the truck because you're not going anywhere. So he got out of the truck, and the guy kind of paced around the front of the truck and was trying to get back in the truck because the guys were making him nervous. And this big guy said, I leaned on that driver's door and said, you call your boss and you find a way of payment. Otherwise, I'm taking your truck. And he goes, you will never get it back. And he goes, it took a spell, but they got a form of payment. They got paid that for any damages they did to the yard. And but that was one wild and crazy story to hear it right from the horse's mouth. But yeah, even the customer was saying, holy cow, you wouldn't believe some of these foreigners that come in that struggle to back in off a country road into our pole barn, and which is their warehouse. But they fight, argue, and scream how difficult it is, and yet I'll come right in and back in smooth as butter in there. And I said, they're overthinking it. And the one guy, as of recent, this last 6 or 7 months, one guy, there's a sawmill next to him, and he ended up backing down the road to try to cut around the barn through the sawmill property, and didn't know there was a field out there. But he ended up tearing up the grounds of the sawmill and got stuck and sunk his truck and trailer there. So they charged him for repairs on the yard there. So it's just, you'd be surprised the ignorance of the mindset and the thinking and WTF of what these drivers think when they show up to make a delivery, and how they make a decision to back or approach to get into the receiving end of delivery. And it is horrible. For instance, right here at the Loves, I came out of, I'm going to turn you guys around. We'll get into this job topic here in a minute. So right there's a fuel island. I'm in front of the fuel island. There is I-64 out here. Right out here where this guy's going. So, as you can see, exit, you're going to go straight out perpendicular from me. So I came out of the fuel island over there. I came up like this guy, and then I turned to get this guy past me. Man, he's going slow as pie. So I came right out, I turned, and I faced right towards the left side. I pulled up there, and I backed straight in. Now this guy that went by me, the guy next to me, pulls this way and does a 45 to back in. This guy's taking about 8 pull-ups, backups, pull-ups, and backups to get into the spot next to me. He's now gone. He must have did his 30-minute break. So this was this. I back in, and I'm still watching this dude, and I'm like, he's a foreigner, and he couldn't speak English. Why? Because I got out. He got out, went in, and did whatever he was going to do. I got out post-trip, so I did my walk-around. Double-checked my airline, double-checked for any air leaks, lights, tires, brakes, mud flaps, the whole shit, kit and caboodle. You know, everything I need to do on my post-trip. As I'm back on the driver's side, and he backed in on my driver's side, I go down, and his trailer tires are next to mine. I look over, the front outer one is half flat, and he had been running it so half flat, it had overheated, and the tread had bubbled. It looked like bubble wrap around on the top of the tread, and it was getting ready to blow. Like he had air pockets under there, and it was going to blow. He came back walking across the parking lot after I got back in the truck, so I waved him over, and I said, hey, you have a bad tire back there. You might want to address it while you're sitting here. I took him back there, and I said, tire's half flat and all that. He's nodding his head and all this and that. So I knew right away he wasn't understanding a damn word I said. And all he could do was turn to me and say, company have no money. Company no money. And I'm going, that tire's bad. I would not run it. And I pointed to the tread and saying, that's going to blow, blow. He couldn't get he was just like, no money. Oh, all right. So tire guy's right over here changing a tire. He could have grabbed him or something. So I'm sitting here, then he rolls his window down. He's hanging out his passenger window, waving me over. So I'm in my socks then. Get my paperwork, going through my paperwork for tomorrow. And I jump over out of my truck into his. He's putting his hand over that AC vents. It's not cold. And his truck is hotter than a popcorn fart. It's like over 100 degrees in there because it's humid today. And I looked at his controls to make sure he had his controls because he had a Cascadia like mine, and sure enough, he had everything working. I said, it's bad. I said, no cold gas. You need to get it fixed. He just smiled, nodded his head, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not here to fix you. But wow. So he had no AC. He's running with a bad tire on a reefer trailer. And I went up with my hand, with my fist, and thumped it, and that tire was flopping. So he was going to lose that tire. To me, I would have fixed it here or aired it up before I left or something. But to get out on the highway, then blow it and be on the side of the road, it's going to be more costly than if you would have just done it here. So this is the shit we deal with out here with these foreign drivers. They can't speak English. They don't understand. They have no mechanical inclination of anything. They can't walk around, the majority of them can't walk around a damn truck and understand or know any working aspect of the vehicle. So that pisses me off because and I will agree with the government, it's a safety effing issue that this is going on because these clowns can't understand, let alone construction signs, road signs, hazard signs, or even hazmat signs, whether they're hauling hazmat or if the truck next to them, how hazardous it is. So yeah, we need to get these clowns out of here. So anyhow, those are my stories. So that was story time. Let's go on. Trucker Rob and Tommy. So they sorry, kicked my keys down on the floor. Tommy did the right thing. He got some slack for it. I think he knew it, and I kind of knew it was going to come. But he's an owner-operator, and he did his best for very little money he had, and he made a good go at it. And he busted his ass. But the truck was breaking down, and the truck maintenance was it was getting to the tipping point. And I think I would have done the same thing as him. You got to know when to pull the plug and say the maintenance almost took him to the point of no return, but he caught it just in time to say, yeah, if I keep going any farther, this thing's going to bury me in a hole, and it'll probably be to a point either it's going to take him years to get out of or go bankrupt. So he had an older truck, and he was making good money, and he wasn't getting the loads or anything, but the truck was breaking down so fast he couldn't keep up with it, to keep it fixed and then get out and run it to make, get the miles in and make the money. So he is taking his truck and trailer off. He lives out in Arizona, but he took off for to be a company driver. So he's on his maiden voyage with that. He's got a nice T680. So if Tommy, you see this video, I'd just say, the wife and I saw that. It's a nice blue on there, and it looks like a nice, well-dressed out truck. So he's going to make a go at it with those guys. As a company driver, I believe he's going to try using his trailer with that company. I haven't heard from him on that yet. He's been trying to reach out and call me. And the one time I was too sick, and the second time I was dealing with customers with my detailing at home. So if you see this, Tommy, give me a call anytime. I'm out on the road. I'm 99.9% better. I just got to get my voice back from coughing. But other than that, I'm top notch. If I can go contort it upside down, detailing out the interior of cars and washing and all that, I think I'll be good to go to be out here. But he's still going at it. He hasn't given up, but he has just found a way to pivot to keep himself afloat and going with cash flowing. Trucker Rob, I've been following him. He's been at Bay and Bay, which I'll get to that on the mega carriers, big carriers. He was a lease purchase person. And when I first saw him on his channel with a W990, and I thought, man, that's a nice truck. And I liked the interior. I loved the layout of that truck. So I followed him because I thought, well, let's see what this cat's going to do with this Kenworth. But I don't know if he got 5 or 6 months, and He goes, he just wasn't getting the mile, but he wasn't getting enough money left over to pay himself or his personal expenses. So he turned the truck in. I don't think it cost him anything. And then he became a company driver for B&B instead of a lease purchase operator. And they gave him just a run-of-the-mill plain Jane Cascadia like I have. And now he's had to, they pulled him out of that company truck, put him in another one. And he goes, I don't know why they're switching me in trucks. But they have been screwing around with moving him around in trucks. They have been screwing around with his pay and making it less obtainable to get some of his bonuses. Now understand out here, a lot of these companies will give you up to 65, 70, 75 cents. What is the up to? So there's going to be a baseline and there's going to be the up to. So is that safety? Is that a fuel bonus? Maintenance? Whatever it may be, whatever they're going to try to stack on there. But these are things you need to try to obtain through each month or each quarter. And what they had done was he had a fuel savings bonus he'd get every month at a few $100. Well, it ended up, they changed it. So if your truck was on average, so if you were running, I think he said he was running 2,800 miles a week. With that, which I was doing that right up until about 3 weeks ago. I was doing about 2,700 miles a week for a company driver for what I'm doing. But B&B just does general freight across the board, all 48 states. We're more regional. They changed it, and I don't know if he came from a 7.2, 7.4 average MPG, and then he raised it to like 7.8, and he tried for 30 days. He said, this is ridiculous if they think I'm going to get it out of this. But he tried, and he goes, the only way I'm going to obtain getting an average 7.8 miles to the gallon is you'd have to turn this truck down like Prime and Prime Incorporated and basically run your truck about no faster than 63 miles an hour. And he goes, now I'm trying to make a few $100 on fuel savings, but I'm losing money on the top end by not being able to drive the speed limit, which may out west is anywhere from 70 to 80 miles an hour. So, where's the give and take on that? And that's where it's why I'm not a fan of these big companies or mega carriers. I will not work for them. And I've already told my wife, that's one of the last things, man, these guys are really cutting it tight in here. If something was to happen, I've been with this company going on 10 years. I took a 2-year sabbatical. If you watch my videos, I was at Ryder for a while until COVID hit, and that kind of threw me back in with these guys. But if anything happened here and I still needed to keep driving and I don't have my shit together yet and my debt to income ratio, which my wife and I have been discussing and working on, then I'm going back into heavy haul and over dimensional, which I started doing, bam, right out of the gate at 21 years old. I was 8-axle, 160, 70, 200,000 pound load, Michigan gravel trains. You can Google this, Michigan gravel trains, Michigan specials, and you will see 8-axle trailers. And we used to run 13 axles, but the time I got in the game in the mid 80s, they dropped it down to 11 axles. So 3 on the tractor, 8 on the wagons. Either double wagons, which on the trailers would be 5 on the pup trailer and 3 on the lead, and then the 3 on the tractor. And all the trucks were always Michigan specials. Michigan special, if you look up a Michigan special spec, that is a double framed truck, usually 46,000 pound axles. The Mack Camelback springs were like 1 inch thick, and 20,000 pound axles on the front. It was, and on the 48-foot walking floors, we would usually run 6 straight axles and have 2 9-foot spreads, or put the 4 axles in the front, or 5 in the front, 1 9-foot spread to the rear, 1 or 2 into the front. It just depends on how you want to set your trailer up and what you're hauling. But I said the money now in trucking is going to be in pretty much two avenues. It's going to be in heavy haul over dimensional tanker, hazmat or food grade. Pick one, get in it. Because dry van and reefer, it's shit, it's dead. These mega carrier companies out here are going to pay you shit wages. You might as well go be a fucking greeter at Walmart to make the money you're going to make sitting in a reefer trailer for a mega carrier. The only one out there probably paying decent in a van trailer, unless you're in with a small company like me, but we are specified into what we're hauling, and we're regional, and we only haul one type of product. We don't go out and do back hauls with general freight or anything for a back haul back home. We just deadhead home because we usually either get the hell back or we got to get another trailer, get back out and do a second route if the overflow's there. Walmart's paying good, but if you want to be micromanaged by Walmart, if you want to be with these mega carriers, and that was the other thing Rob said with Bay and Bay is they've got all the damn inward facing cameras and all that. Prime has now done it. All these mega carriers are putting all these damn inward facing cameras. To me, it's like, if you're going to do that to me, I'm out. I told these guys, you put a camera in facing me, I'm walking. It's cut dry. There's no reason for that. And it's just a government ploy to fucking control us. I'm sorry, but if you don't want to believe that, then piss off. Find another channel to go, feel warm and fuzzy about. Maybe some kitten channels. But my experience, and these are my opinions and my experiences on what I look for and what I tried to tell Rob. It's time to get out. And he said, trucking? I said, no, get out of that damn company. Find a company that's going to give you respect for your experience and pay you straight up. Not hee-haw around and just daisy prance around. We'll give you this if you play ball this way and that way. No. Straight up, just give me my fucking pay. Don't make me have to jump through hoops and climb over rainbows to get a freaking paycheck. Otherwise, piss off. But healthcare, trucking, and healthcare have taught me when it's time to pivot and say goodbye, see ya, so long. The number one thing I see a red flag, and it happened. That's why I ended up back here. One of the red flags popped up, and I got out. And that was in the COVID when I was with Ryder Integrated Logistics. So Ryder Truck Rental also has their own logistics department. And I got on with them because they guaranteed me $110,000 a year to be a float driver. Fuck yeah, in 2018, shit, I'm all over that shit. And they even gave me a rental car to cover all the Midwest region. And if it had to be farther out, they'd put me on a plane, fly me. They said, the guy said, I'm building a SWAT team to be able to drop into any account, flatbed, Conestoga, tanker, anything. I need to throw you into an account, get a quick rundown of how things operate, and you need to take off with that truck and trailer and work for this account. Because they had several accounts to the United States. It was great pay. I mean, shit. A slow week would be $3,000 to $3,500 as a company driver. The best check I had was about $4,500 a week. So on average, there was probably about 6+ months where, for 2 years, where I was doing about $14,000 a month. So, and that's no shit, no lie. There was companies paying then. That was 2018, 2019. Then I stayed with them till June of 20 when COVID and everyone was just shutting down, and I had to have a new home because they were going to furlough me. So these guys offered me my job back with more pay. But when they screw with your pay, they adjust your pay for a negative. It is time to walk. If they're going to start taking things away from you, your pay, your source of putting food on the table, keeping the lights on and the heat going, and gas in the car, and to pay the medical bills, when they start taking as I call it, when they start taking food off my table by reducing my pay, I'm out. And that's what they were doing. They're like, well, COVID's hit, this and that. So they started downgrading our pay scale, taking things off the table, and then they wanted to start cutting because I was getting hourly pay as a base, and they were like, yeah, we're going to reduce that. And by then I was making phone calls because I knew it was time to go before they were going to furlough me. And I would rather take the avenue of having a job than to be sitting at home on furlough. So pay is one thing. Trucking, I've seen it. Healthcare, I worked at 3 different hospital systems in 10 years. I was hourly at the one. I stayed there for about 5 months. I got offered a better job at the next hospital, but I was on salary. I started out like $31,000 a year. But remember, I was in college and working nearly full time while I was in college with that. Next, where are we at? Yeah, I'm really going on here. The next thing was they gave me a raise. They got me up to 33.5. Looking back, I make that in about a quarter now. You know, about 30,000 every 3 to 4 months. I'm making that. Excuse me. So the next hospital offered me hourly pay at an RN's pay scale. They put me on the RN's pay scale as an exercise physiologist. I took that job. It was a bump in pay to 42 on a base pay, but then with hourly, I got overtime. For the first 2.5, 3 years, I was doing about 50. My best year was about 61, 62,000 with overtime. But I never got a pay raise. I never got a hourly pay raise for 7 years I worked there. Now, the insult to injury to that is not only did I not get a pay raise in those 7 years, I also, the last 12 months I worked there, I never got a 40-hour paycheck because we were still coming out of the global financial crisis, the GFC from 2008 to 2012. Hospitals were starting to do a top-down house cleaning. They had consultants come in, and they were already cleaning administration out, trying to cut the fat off to keep profits going because, you know, hospitals run more of a business now than they do for patient care. So, with that said, they had come down and then they cut our hours down to part-time, but keeping our full-time benefits, and then it was just layoffs because they had too much staff on board because there wasn't enough census to cover, you know, to have people standing around doing nothing when there's no patients in the hospital to care for. So that's when I pivoted, and I looked at my wife and I said, all the hospitals in the area were all either laying off or scaling back, so there was no full-time work in my field or doing anything in that aspect. Therefore, I looked at my wife and I said, I need to pivot back in the driving because it was either file bankruptcy and move in with my in-laws or make the pivot back to what I'm doing right here. And she stuck behind me and said, where you go, I go. And I said, that's all I want to know, but if we do, we got to go from the Bay, Saginaw, Michigan area to the Grand Rapids area because Grand Rapids is better logistically for trucking than it is in that area. More companies, more manufacturing, it's a more diversified area instead of your Bay, Saginaw, Flint, Pontiac, Detroit, all put their eggs in one basket, auto industry. And that's why those towns are just crime-ridden shitholes because the auto industry has decimated those towns when they pulled out and moved to either China or Mexico. So I said, we got to go to the other side where they're more widespread in different areas of manufacturing. Went over there, and it's been a win-win. I will give you that. Second thing, when I start seeing things being a red flag, that's equipment. I've been with trucking companies that have, instead of replacing old tired equipment, you start seeing they'll take a parts truck in the back and start swapping the tires off that onto another truck. They'll start robbing brake drums, an engine, a transmission. They will start robbing Peter to pay Paul and Band-Aid trucks together. When you start seeing them putting used steering components, used driveline parts to get their trucks by and still run them hard. I saw this in the late 80s and early 90s with a company I started with, and they literally were running everything in the ground. And I mean, if the mechanics went down to the parts store and got a brand new part, it was, for the driver, it was like, man, you got a nice vacation. You know, it's like if you want a vacation to Disney World, it's like, oh my God, you got new parts in your truck. The owner came out to the mechanics owner and go, we don't have any more parts to rob off from or take to put on the truck. We got to get new parts. Well, they had run their bill up at the parts store and wasn't paying it, so they cut them off. So it's stuff like that. Payroll bouncing. I've gone through that twice. Trucking companies. The first one was that company band-aiding the trucks. Then it got to, come on down, the owners are down at the bar, the local bar from the shop. Go down there to get your paycheck. It's not in dispatch room. So I got to go down there, and they're trying to buy you drinks and get you drunk and that, and then give you your check, because make sure it's like after 6 and all that. That back then, you know, we had ATMs, but banks weren't sophisticated with debit cards and all that as we do now. This is 1988, 89, and 90. So they were holding the paycheck and said, and then they would say, don't cash it till Monday. So that went on until it bounced a couple times, and I had to get some withdrawal fees out of them, and that was like trying to get blood out of a turnip. Second company, when I left chiropractic school to move back home to take care of my child, I got in with another garbage company. They were just around the corner from where I was at. They were only in business for 3 years or so. I went down there because I needed something to show the courts to get the custody battle switched over to me. It only took a month, but I just said, hey, I need a job. Here's my resume. Here's my experience. They're like, shit. I went out in my dress clothes, grabbed a roll-off truck, and moved cans around for him. The guy goes, fuck, you handle that like a cowboy with cattle. He goes, holy shit. And I said, yeah, I've been doing this long enough. I said, I haven't lost my skill set in driving a truck. But they hired me, and it was good for 6 months. And then payroll was bouncing. Every freaking 2 weeks, the payroll bounced. I'd have to go back, get another check, and expenditures for my overdraft fees. That went on for like 3 or 4 payrolls. And then the repo man showed up and started collecting all the trucks and the containers. But the trucks mainly. So that company had leveraged themselves up by, he had gotten let go from Waste Management as a sales manager or something, and he was pissed off. So I'm going to start my own garbage company and compete against you. Okay, fine. But he goes out, he leases brand new trucks. Dude, start out with used trucks, but lease new trucks at 23% interest. And I was like, what the fuck were you thinking? And I said, I would have started with used trucks, built your capital up, and just bled one new truck in at a time, at least 1 year to 2 years out at a time. Never just go and buy a whole brand new fleet. I said, you know, did you win the lottery or something? So, but they were also trying to compete against Waste Management because of his attitude. He was undercutting them by giving out dumpsters and pickup fees for a lot less. Well, it wasn't covering his overhead for operating costs overall, summed up in a nutshell. So basically, he was bringing in less money than he was paying out for payroll, diesel, insurance, maintenance, and all the other shit. So it caught up to him, and it ended up flipping him upside down, and the bank took everything over. So those are my things I look for. And when I see telltale signs like that, And I ask questions here. I sit down with the CEO. I get a feel. I want to know what's going on because, I don't see none of it. Like, none of it is hitting in my radar of seeing any of that here, especially when we're in the worst fucking trucking downturn in my history of driving. And I've heard stories of the trucker strike and the fuel embargo back in 1974 and what guys went through back then, and it was horrible. But to hear the stories that it was so tight for some of them guys, that's when they were running the two-stroke Detroit diesels. And the guy said the engine block would be cracked. He learned how to, with tungsten steel welding rod, he had to weld engine blocks back up and get them back on the road and rebuild them right there out of a little pole barn. That's how tight things were for those guys back then. But yeah, it was bad. This is worse, and it's going to continue to get worse. And then you got these idiots like the monkey head next to me that can't speak English, running a tire that's going to blow on them, possibly put them in an accident, and running with no AC, and the truck's over 100 degrees in there, hotter than hell, Hades, like a sauna when I got in the passenger seat. And I'm like, and he's telling me company have no money as we're walking back up along the trailer. So he couldn't even afford to replace that tire if he had to, whether if he was the owner or whatever owner owned that truck and trailer. And that's what these guys are doing. So if that was me in that truck with no AC and a bald tire, and they don't have the money to replace that tire, turn that truck off, pack my shit, get a taxi, get to an airport, and I'll fly my ass home. Come get your damn truck. That would be the red flag, that guy right there. That's what you don't want to be in. You do not want to be in a company that has equipment like that. So I'm blessed, and I'm very thankful for my skill sets that I've obtained, and have had great mentors to give me the teachings to gather the knowledge to carry on and carry myself, whether it's my building trades, my welding and fabricating, my mechanics, my detailing, I'm not an electrician. I do basic but not in depth. But my plumbing, I've ran all my plumbing in my house has been all done by me, no one else. The only thing I've ever had to hire was a roofer and an electrician to come in one time. That's been it. So my wife and I are very blessed, and that is I've applied myself and my skill sets, and whatever skill sets may have been dull, I have sharpened them up over these last 10 years. And since I've been back in this truck, at home, here, and in other walks of life. And that's what people need to be if they're going to be diversified in a very upside down economy right now, is you got to be able to have survival of the fittest to make it out here. So I can just leave you with this from Simon at Uneducated Economist. Said it very well this last weekend. You need to position yourself in this type of economy, and always through life you need to make more and require less. You don't need all your toys, you don't need your stuff, you just need to be making more and just require what you just need to live, to pay your taxes, your utilities, your insurance, and put food on the table. Everything else, you don't need a new car. You don't need a new this. You don't need play toys for that. You don't need fancy vacations for this. People think that because that is a first world mindset, especially in the Western nations. What you need to have is a mindset that you're always poor. Whether you're making millions a year, you still want to live down here as if you're Jed Clampett, poor in the shack in the hills of Tennessee. And even though you struck it rich with oil, you still want to be. And when you stay that way, stay as a gray man. Stay invisible in society. Don't let people know where you're at or what position you have in life, because then you become a target. people are going to come after you if they know you have money, food, anything to survive when other people are starving, homeless, or sick. If you're the shining light, they're coming after you first. So be a gray man, stay invisible in the crowd, don't stand out in that crowd, and just keep trudging along, making money, staying ahead of inflation and ahead of anything out there. Like I said, this is not a political channel. This is an economic, financial, money, banking, investment channel discussion along with trucking. But that's the best thing you can do. You can't control what's going on the East and West Coast, but you can control what's going on at your home in your economy. That you can control. And when you have control of that and you are making more and requiring less, you're winning. So until next time, folks, stay safe, continue educating yourself. Knowledge is learned, not taught, and we'll see you all in the next video.